To be a true Cancer is to walk the tides of life with the heart as a compass and the soul as the vessel. This is not the path of the faint-hearted nor the easily swayed. It is a journey carved from the depths of emotional resilience, the slow grind of growth, and the relentless pursuit of becoming whole. The Cancer who has become themselves through trials, through heartbreak, and through the silent work that no one sees, carries an inner force as deep as the ocean. It is not born from ease, but from evolution. The real Cancer is a warrior cloaked in softness, a paradox that confuses many. People see the nurturing, the tenderness, the intuitive wisdom, but what they do not see is the pain endured to become so understanding. They don't see the long nights of inner war, the countless times the soul has rebuilt themselves from nothing but feeling and instinct. They don't see the emotional labor, the shedding of old shells, the courage it took to be vulnerable again and again after every betrayal, every disappointment. They only see the shell that shines now, not the scars beneath it. This is a sign ruled by the moon, and with that comes tides, ebbs and flows, highs and lows. A true Cancer has drowned in those waters more than once, only to resurface stronger each time. Every perceived weakness has become a strength. Where once they hid behind their shell, now they wield it as armor. Where once they feared change, now they understand its sacred rhythm. Where once they clung to the past, now they carry its lessons like sacred texts etched into their being. Cancer is not merely emotional, it is emotionally intelligent. It is not passive, it is reflective. It is not fragile, it is forged. A Cancer that has faced their shadows and made peace with them carries a quiet, magnetic power. They know how to protect without control, to love without possession, to lead without domination. They do not need to shout their victories. Success speaks through their presence, their calm certainty, and the way others feel safe in their energy. Others often assume their success came naturally. They attribute it to luck or to their people's skills, never realizing the emotional weight training this sign has undergone. For Cancer, every accomplishment is built on top of healing. Every achievement has roots in an ocean of self-work. Every breakthrough is tied to a breakdown once endured in silence. Their resilience is not loud, but it is unbreakable. Their determination is not explosive, but it is relentless. They do not rise with fire, but with waves that shape cliffs and shorelines over time. A true Cancer knows that the past is both a teacher and a temptation. They've learned to remember without reliving, to forgive without forgetting, to carry their roots without letting them become chains. They move forward not in spite of their history, but because they have integrated it into their foundation. Home is not just a place to them, it is a state of self. And they have built it room by room, emotion by emotion, lesson by lesson. There is a sacred rage beneath their gentleness, a protective fury for those they love, for the dreams they've dared to grow, for the person they've fought to become. They are the silent storm, the quiet revolution, the still water that runs deep. They do not need validation, though it is often given. They do not seek recognition, though it tends to follow them. What they crave is authenticity, connection, and the freedom to feel fully without fear. They have turned their empathy into insight, their instinct into strategy, their care into creation. They do not just nurture others, they have learned to nurture themselves, and that is their greatest triumph. The true Cancer is a lighthouse that has weathered every hurricane, not simply illuminating others, but standing tall as proof that survival is possible, that growth is inevitable, and that love, above all else, is transformative when forged through fire and wave. To be a true Cancer is to be a legend written not in stories, but in the hearts of those they've touched, and in the battles they've fought behind closed doors. Their story is not just one of survival, but of sacred evolution. And that story is far from over. It is a rising tide that refuses to recede. The essence of a true Cancer extends far beyond emotion and intuition. There exists a profound and often misunderstood element of strategy, legacy, and inner discipline that only fully blooms through years of quiet refinement. A Cancer who has evolved through hardship does not simply navigate life with feeling. They architect it with care, foresight, and an unwavering internal compass. Governed by the moon, they are constantly reflecting, cycling, and attuning themselves to subtle energies that most others ignore. This attunement becomes a superpower, sharpening their ability to move in silence, to act when others hesitate, and to strike with purpose when the moment calls. They are not impulsive because they have tasted the cost of misjudgment. They are not cold, but their warmth is now intentional, no longer scattered without discernment. This Cancer understands the weight of energy, and they guard theirs with the vigilance of a sacred flame. Their boundaries, once porous, have become sacred temples. Entry is no longer granted without merit. This shift does not make them hard, but wise. Their nurturing is now a sacred offering, not a commodity. Their loyalty is earned, not given blindly. They are no longer a vessel to be filled or drained by others. They are the ocean itself, choosing when to rise and when to retreat. The archetypal Cancer who has faced and embraced their darkness knows the intricacies of emotional warfare. They have learned how to listen beneath words, to feel the truth beneath appearances, to see the soul beyond the mask. In this lies a psychic strength that borders on the supernatural. They do not need to control others, for they understand how to guide energy without force. They do not crave attention because they know the power of presence. Their influence is not loud, but it echoes. It endures. It changes the atmosphere simply by being. What is often forgotten in the Cancerian mythos is the ambition that lives beneath the emotional depth. This is a cardinal sign, born to initiate, to lead, to create tangible results. When a Cancer rises, it is with the same quiet inevitability as the tide overtaking the shore. Their goals are not driven by ego but by a deep-seated desire to protect, to secure, to leave a legacy that nourishes long after they're gone. They are builders, not just of homes but of empires, ones founded on meaning, value, and emotional truth. They do not compete in the way fire signs might, nor do they seek status like others. They measure success in impact, in healing, in the quiet transformation they bring to those lucky enough to be in their orbit. They know what it means to build something with soul, to turn pain into purpose, to cultivate beauty from suffering. Every achievement, every project, every dream they bring into the world is infused with the essence of everything they've endured. This is why their victories feel different. This is why they inspire without even trying. Because they do not just win, they transcend. The Cancer who has evolved through adversity also becomes a silent sentinel for others. They understand trauma not from theory but from lived experience. They become the friend who never judges, the leader who listens first, the artist who channels the unspeakable, the parent who nurtures beyond survival into thriving. Their impact spreads like ripples, often uncredited yet deeply felt. They know that leadership is not about dominance but about protection, about vision, about walking through the fire first so others don't have to. There is also a deep ancestral wisdom woven into the fabric of Cancer. They carry the memories of generations within their blood. As they heal, they are healing not just themselves, but the lineage they came from. The evolved Cancer becomes a generational chainbreaker, rewriting narratives of silence, repression, and emotional exile. They become the keeper of sacred stories, the healer of inherited wounds, the one who restores honor to forgotten roots. In this, they become timeless, not just a person, but a living bridge between the past and the future. Their love, too, transforms. It becomes a force that is unshakable, not because it clings, but because it has learned to let go. A Cancer in their power does not love from fear or need. They love from choice, from strength, from abundance. Their love is healing, cleansing, grounding. It is the kind of love that holds space for your entire self, without trying to fix or reshape it. The kind of love that sees the wounds, honors them, and reminds you that you are more than them. This love is revolutionary. It is rare, and it is sacred. Finally, the Cancerian path is not a straight line but a spiral. They return to old lessons with new eyes, revisit old pains with a deeper heart. Each cycle brings greater clarity, greater power, greater alignment. They are not afraid of revisiting the past because they no longer fear being trapped by it. They rise each time more whole, more honest, more themselves. Their softness is now edged with strength. Their silence now holds wisdom, Their vulnerability has become their crown. To be a true Cancer, shaped by storms and sculpted by stillness, is to be both sanctuary and sea. They are the quiet strength that holds others together. They are the moonlit current that reshapes landscapes. They are the legacy of every emotion survived and transformed. And they will continue to rise with grace, with power, and with an unshakable sense of purpose, long after others have given up. Because for Cancer, the journey is not just about surviving, it is about becoming. There is an elemental magic within the Cancer soul that is often overlooked. A magic tied not just to emotion, but to timing, rhythm, and cycles. The Cancer who has awakened through pain and refined their power over time becomes a living embodiment of lunar mastery. They do not merely react to life, they respond with precision, because they have come to understand that timing is sacred. Just as the moon waxes and wanes, a true Cancer knows when to push forward and when to retreat. They act with the patience of tides shaping stone, never rushing, never forced, but always progressing. This deep alignment with universal rhythm gives them a subtle but profound advantage. While others chase opportunity, they align with it. While others exhaust themselves trying to control outcomes, Cancer aligns with the natural flow and lets their intuition guide them to exactly where they need to be. This internal timing system grants them a unique form of wisdom. It's not the logic of facts and figures, but the knowing of soul and spirit. It is ancestral, ancient, woven into the marrow of their being. Cancers have an uncanny ability to sense what others are not saying, to anticipate shifts before they are visible, and to prepare for outcomes that haven't yet arrived. They do not need proof. They feel the truth before it's spoken. This kind of knowing cannot be taught. It must be lived, honed, and trusted over countless experiences. And the true Cancer, the one who has weathered their own inner tempests, has come to trust this inner compass above all else. They are also the silent architects of emotional landscapes. A mature Cancer can walk into a room and recalibrate its energy without speaking. They do this not through manipulation, but through resonance. Their energy is cleansing. It invites truth. It dissolves pretense. They hold space not because it's trendy or performative, but because they've needed that kind of space themselves and rarely found it. So they became it. Their presence is a balm for the soul, a soft but unshakable reminder that feeling deeply is not a weakness but a power that few can carry and even fewer can wield well. Within their quiet power lies an unspoken resistance. Cancers are not rebellious in the way fire signs burn down structures or air signs challenge with intellect. Their rebellion is the choice to feel in a world that glorifies detachment. Their revolution is the decision to care when indifference is easier. Their defiance is seen in the way they rebuild themselves each time the world tries to convince them that they are too much, too soft, too fragile. They carry their sensitivity like a sword, not to cut but to protect their own becoming and the sacred becoming of those they love. A truth often forgotten is that Cancer is a cardinal sign, initiator of seasons, bearer of new beginnings. This means that when a Cancer steps into their power, they are not just nurturing, they are transformative. They take what is broken and build again. They take what is forgotten and give it new life. Their nurturing is not passive. It is a fierce, creative force that births worlds. A Cancerian leader does not dominate the spotlight, but the light follows them all the same. They are the quiet visionaries, the dream bearers who bring intuition into action and emotion into motion. They dream not just for themselves, but for their families, their communities, their legacies. They know how to turn a home into a kingdom, a moment into a movement. In their journey, a powerful aspect emerges: solitude. The true Cancer understands the value of aloneness, not as exile but as sacred retreat. Their growth often happens in silence, away from the chaos of the world. These are the moments when they hear their own voice most clearly, when the moon speaks directly to them, and when transformation takes root deep within. While others seek constant connection to escape themselves, Cancer embraces solitude to remember who they are. In these quiet spaces, they gather their strength, refine their purpose, and rise with clarity. And yet, this journey of inner strength doesn't harden them. On the contrary, it softens them in the most divine way. They become more compassionate, not less. More understanding, not cynical. They do not forget the pain, but they no longer carry it like a burden. Instead, they wear it like armor made of memory, a reminder of who they were and a testament to who they've become. They no longer seek validation for their emotional depth because they have come to realize that their feelings are gateways, not obstacles. They have turned their own healing into a path that others can follow, simply by existing fully in their truth. They are protectors, not only of people but of dreams, values, traditions, and the sacred spaces where healing can happen. They become the quiet pillars that hold up entire generations, the unsung heroes behind the scenes, the ones whose efforts are often overlooked but whose impact is impossible to ignore. They are not driven by applause, they are driven by meaning. They are not motivated by competition, they are motivated by legacy. And perhaps most of all, the Cancer who has walked through the fire of emotional evolution becomes unstoppable not because they do not feel pain anymore, but because pain no longer defines them. They feel, they process, and they move forward, not around the wound, but through it. They have learned the difference between reacting and responding, between attachment and love, between survival and thriving. They know now that their destiny is not to be swallowed by the tide, but to ride it, to rise with it, to become the tide itself. Their legacy is written not in stone but in soul, in the lives they touch, in the peace they bring, in the strength they show by choosing softness again and again in a world that misunderstands it. They are the moonlight on dark waters, the anchor in chaos, the heartbeat in silence. And when they rise, as they always do, it is not to prove anything to the world. It is to fulfill a calling that is older than memory, deeper than words, and more powerful than any force that seeks to suppress the sacred truth of feeling. That is the true Cancer, eternal, evolving, and forever rising. There is a divine intelligence embedded within the Cancer archetype that transcends mere emotion and anchors itself in the sacred duty of emotional alchemy. This is a soul that came into the world not to escape feeling, but to master it, to transmute it, to transform the rawest experiences of life into nourishment, protection, and meaning. The evolved Cancer does not just feel deeply, they interpret those feelings like sacred texts. They are born under a sign that understands the language of memory, the music of the unseen, and the echo of every human sorrow. In that understanding, they become the quiet alchemists of the zodiac, turning heartbreak into wisdom, grief into compassion, and fear into gentle strength. This emotional alchemy is not a passive process. It is a daily initiation. It demands presence, resilience, and unshakable faith in the value of the inner world. Cancers know that true power is not in dominating others, but in mastering the self. While the world chases external validation, they descend into their inner ocean and emerge with pearls of insight and strength. This is not weakness. This is the mark of a soul that knows how to rise from within. They do not need to stand on platforms to prove themselves. Their evolution speaks in their eyes, their energy, and their unwavering calm in the face of chaos. A Cancer who has faced themselves fully becomes not just a protector of the home, but a guardian of emotional legacy. They are born with the instinct to hold and contain, not to possess, but to preserve. This instinct, once misdirected into clinging or overgiving, transforms through awareness into sacred stewardship. They become the keepers of what is essential. They remember the importance of roots, of traditions, of stories passed down. They carry emotional memory not as baggage but as sacred codes, and they choose consciously what deserves to be passed on and what must be buried with love. They also possess a gift that few understand, the power of receptivity. In a world obsessed with action, Cancer teaches the sacredness of receiving, of holding space, of listening beyond words, of allowing energy to flow naturally instead of forcing outcomes. Receptivity is not passivity. It is the capacity to sense, to discern, to magnetize, and to allow what is right to come forth in its proper season. This is why so many Cancerians, when aligned, manifest what they need almost effortlessly. It is not luck, it is energetic mastery. They are the water that draws in what is meant for them, not by chasing, but by being. The true Cancer is not swayed by superficial trends or societal noise. They are attuned to ancient rhythms. They know that slow is sacred, that consistency is more powerful than spectacle, and that healing is not linear, but cyclical. They are the ones who rebuild what has been lost, not with fanfare, but with devotion, brick by brick, word by word, gesture by gesture. Their progress is often invisible to those who only measure success by milestones. But for the Cancerian soul, every boundary set, every tear honored, every truth spoken is a monument to growth. They are not here to impress, they are here to embody. In romantic love, Cancer becomes the sacred mirror. They reflect the innermost parts of others, not to flatter but to reveal. This can be terrifying to those unprepared for depth, but healing for those ready to be seen. The love of an evolved Cancer is not transactional. It is transcendent. It holds the beloved through storms. It waits without shrinking. It calls forth the highest version of the other, not by demanding, but by believing. This is the kind of love that endures lifetimes. It is the kind of love that doesn't just soothe, it awakens. They are also healers of environments. The energy of a Cancer transforms any space into sanctuary. It is not about perfection or aesthetics. It is about energy. Wherever they go, they infuse the surroundings with safety, warmth, and grounding. Their homes, their words, their presence. These become temples of peace in a world that often forgets how to rest. The evolved Cancer understands that peace is not the absence of challenge, but the presence of self. They carry that peace within them, cultivated through years of tending to their wounds, honoring their needs, and embracing the sacred messiness of their human experience. The world does not always celebrate softness. It often misinterprets care for weakness and nurturing for naivete. But the true Cancer knows otherwise. They know the cost of empathy. They have stood in the fire of their own shadows and chosen again and again to remain open-hearted. This is the courage that changes worlds, not the loud kind, but the unwavering one. The one that shows up, holds on, and keeps choosing love when it would be easier to shut down. They are the ones who heal generations simply by healing themselves. There is a final dimension to the evolved Cancer that is often hidden, the mystic. When they stop running from their intuitive gifts and embrace their role as emotional seers, they become living conduits between the inner and outer worlds. Their dreams are not just subconscious symbols, they are prophecies. Their instincts are not guesses, they are truth signals. When they lean into the spiritual dimension, they become oracles of the heart, guiding others not by logic, but by resonance. They don't just speak, they transmit. Their energy itself becomes healing. They do not arrive at this place overnight. It takes lifetimes of falling and rising, loving and losing, hoping and healing. But once they arrive, they become immovable. Not rigid, but rooted. Not loud, but legendary. They become the moon walking the earth. Gentle but unyielding, reflective but radiant, changeable yet eternal. This is the Cancer who has become more than their sign. They have become a force, a sanctuary, a storm and a shelter, and they will never stop rising. Not because they want to be seen, but because they were born to lead quietly, heal deeply, and love eternally. The tide always returns to the shore. So too will Cancer, again and again, rising stronger, softer, wiser with each return. There is a sacred contract etched into the soul of a Cancer long before they ever draw breath. A vow to remember, to protect, and to elevate the unseen emotional fabric of the world. Beneath the surface of their sensitivity lies a profound spiritual discipline, one that is cultivated over time, through quiet endurance, through sacred solitude, through the invisible trials that shape character without applause. Cancer is not only the guardian of the home, but the protector of the soul's architecture. Its longing, its fears, its hope. As water reshapes even the hardest stone, so too does a Cancerian presence carve out transformation where none seemed possible. Their strength is cyclical, regenerative, rooted in lunar wisdom. Unlike linear force, which burns out under pressure, Cancer draws its power from cycles, knowing when to rise, when to retreat, and when to stand unwavering. This makes them strategic in ways the world often fails to grasp. They may appear soft on the outside, But this softness is a choice, not a lack of power. It is a conscious defiance of a world that glorifies numbness. The Cancer who is truly evolved does not fear their emotional depth, but has learned to navigate it like a seasoned sailor charting ancient seas. This mastery over their inner tides gives them an unmatched resilience, because they do not resist life's currents. They flow with them, adapt to them, and use them to propel their path forward. What often remains unspoken about Cancer's legacy is the karmic responsibility they carry. They are emotional archivists, storing the pain, the joy, the silence, and the songs of those who came before them. Their intuition is not merely a gift, but a sacred burden. Because they feel what others cannot, they often must heal what others will not. This makes their journey uniquely complex. In early life, they may absorb pain like a sponge, mistaking empathy for obligation. But as they mature, they refine this gift into a skill, and that skill into a sacred duty. No longer do they carry what is not theirs. Instead, they transform, they transmute, they choose what to inherit and what to end. They do not merely continue the story, they rewrite it. Cancer also possesses a connection to divine timing that is seldom acknowledged. Their choices may seem delayed to others, their pace misunderstood, but they operate in harmony with cosmic rhythm. They know instinctively when to move, when to wait, when to leap. This alignment allows them to manifest realities that appear miraculous. What others see as chance is, for Cancer, the fruit of internal preparation, of quiet consistency, of showing up every single day for their own healing when no one was watching. That is why their success feels different. It was earned in the dark and revealed only when rooted. There is a deeply revolutionary spirit within Cancer, but it doesn't roar with rebellion. It moves like water through stone, gentle yet unstoppable. Their revolution is inner and lasting. It dismantles generational wounds not through destruction, but through love, through awareness, through choosing a higher response. A Cancer at the height of their evolution leads not by controlling others, but by being so rooted in truth that others cannot help but rise in their presence. Their leadership is devotional. It is silent ceremony. It is the quiet rebuilding of trust in a world that has forgotten how to feel. In creative expression, Cancer carries a channel of ancient voice. Their art, their words, their movement, these are not just expressions but invocations. What they create has soul. It echoes beyond time. Whether they build families, write poems, lead communities, or paint the grief of generations into beauty, they infuse the mundane with magic. They know that life is not meant to be survived. It is meant to be remembered, celebrated, honored in all its textures. Their creativity is not performative. It is restorative. It heals what logic cannot reach. There is also a deep lunar sovereignty to the way Cancer commands their inner world. At some point in their evolution, they stop seeking external permission to be who they are. They reclaim every part of themselves, the softness, the rage, the sensitivity, the intuition, and they make a home within their own soul. This is when their true power activates. They no longer need to be understood. They no longer need to explain. They simply are. And in being, they liberate others to do the same. In relationships, the evolved Cancer becomes the mirror of emotional truth. They do not offer half-hearted affection or fragmented loyalty. Their love is total. It is encompassing. It is forged in loyalty so deep, it scares those not ready to receive it. And yet, this love is no longer martyrdom. It has matured, chooses wisely, it sets standards. It refuses to shrink. Because this Cancer knows that real love does not require self-abandonment. It requires presence, wholeness, and the courage to show up without masks. When they love, they do so with every lifetime they've ever lived, and every soul they've ever held close. This sign also carries a mystical connection to the divine feminine, not limited by gender, but expressing itself through intuition, nurturing, gestation, and sacred boundaries. Cancer teaches that strength is cyclical, that power can be quiet, and that transformation often happens in the sanctuary of shadow before it blooms in the light. They remind the world that there is nothing passive about creation, that stillness is not stagnation, it is preparation, that waiting is not weakness, it is wisdom. In the end, Cancer is the keeper of sacred becoming. They are not who they were yesterday, nor who they will be tomorrow. They are constantly refining, releasing, remembering. They carry with them the memory of what it means to be whole in a fragmented world. And through every heartbreak, every sacrifice, every rising, they become not just stronger, but softer in the most divine way. Their legacy is not noise, it is impact. Not control, but connection. Not power over, but power through. And so they rise not with fanfare, but with purpose. Not to be seen, but to illuminate. Not for praise, but because rising is written in their bones. They are the living proof that emotion is strength, that care is courage, and that the deepest waters hold the most enduring light. To truly understand the soul of a Cancerian being is to step beyond the surface symbols of the zodiac and enter the temple of sacred remembrance. Cancer is ruled by the moon, yes, but that rulership is far more than tides and moods. It is a covenant with the divine mother archetype, with the invisible forces that cradle life into being, protect it through its most fragile stages, and empower it to rise when the world forgets how to nurture. There is a timeless wisdom in Cancer that is not taught in books or proclaimed in speeches. It is the kind of wisdom that is felt in silence, seen in the soft gaze of one who has forgiven without apology, heard in the steadiness of someone who has walked through fire but still chooses to hold others gently. What often goes unspoken about the evolved Cancer is their relationship with ancestral memory. They are not just born from their lineage, they are keepers of it. Embedded in their cells is the echo of those who came before them, the laughter and the laments, the victories and the traumas. Without fully realizing it, many Cancers walk through life with an ancient knowing, a compass that turns toward healing not just for themselves, but for their entire bloodline. When they choose to rise, to break patterns, to speak truth where silence was inherited, they are not only healing themselves, they are untangling the knots of generations. Their victories are multidimensional. Their tears cleanse more than one soul. They carry the weight of what has been left unsaid, and when they finally find their voice, it is not just theirs. It is the voice of the lineage finally released into freedom. Cancer also holds a divine tension between the past and the future. As guardians of memory, they are often drawn to nostalgia, to the comfort of what is known and familiar. But once they embrace their path of evolution, they learn to wield this gift with discernment. They no longer live in the past, they draw wisdom from it. They no longer dwell in what could have been, they root into what is and shape what will be. This power to hold time like a sacred scroll in their hearts allows them to lead in ways that are deeply grounded and profoundly visionary. They become lighthouses not because they seek attention, but because they shine with the clarity of someone who remembers everything and still chooses to believe. There is a misunderstood fierceness in Cancer. People mistake their gentleness for fragility, their nurturing for naivety. But the truth is, Cancer holds a warrior spirit dressed in sacred armor. They will protect what they love with unrelenting force, not because they crave conflict, but because they are wired for devotion. When they find something or someone worthy of their loyalty, they become the unshakable force the world underestimates. They will stand alone if they must. They will walk away if they are not honored. They will endure storms in silence until the moment comes when they rise not in rage but in sacred clarity, severing ties that dishonor their worth. When Cancer chooses themselves fully, they become unstoppable. This sign is also deeply connected to the womb space, not just biologically but spiritually. The Cancerian archetype represents the sacred void, the place where ideas gestate, where dreams are conceived, and where transformation is born in darkness. They are the bringers of new life, not just in the physical sense, but in emotional and spiritual dimensions. Their ability to nurture a vision into reality is unmatched. They hold space for others until they can hold space for themselves. They believe in potential even when it flickers faintly. This is not blind optimism, it is sacred sight. And when they extend that belief to their own dreams, when they learn to mother themselves with the same tenderness they offer others, they become creators of worlds. Another profound, often overlooked power within Cancer is their command of energetic protection. They can feel the shifts in a room, the changes in a person's tone, the invisible threads of tension or peace. With time and self-awareness, this sensitivity evolves into an energetic shield. They no longer absorb what is not theirs. They become sentinels of sacred space, able to ward off what does not align with their frequency. They no longer dim their light to comfort others. They radiate it boldly, knowing that true light does not compete, it liberates. They become the protectors of peace, not by hiding from chaos, but by cultivating such deep serenity within that no storm can reach their core. In the realm of leadership, Cancer defies every traditional model. They do not dominate, they elevate. They lead from behind the scenes, with quiet influence, deep care, and unwavering consistency. They do not need to be the face of change to be its force. Their leadership is often the kind that goes unnoticed until one looks back and realizes they were the ones holding everything together. They are the hearts of revolutions, the emotional architects of lasting impact. They do not impose their vision, they invite others into it. They do not shame others into growth, they love them into evolution. When Cancer walks in full awareness of their essence, they carry a serenity that cannot be disturbed. They no longer seek validation from the outside world, because they have made a home inside their own soul. They have navigated every shadow, honored every wound, and emerged whole, not because life was easy, but because they chose not to become bitter. They walk with grace forged in pain, with confidence born of compassion. They do not just survive, they elevate. And everywhere they go, they remind others that tenderness is not a weakness to be corrected, but a superpower to be reclaimed. Cancer is not here to be understood. They are here to be felt. Their impact is not always seen in the moment, but it echoes through lifetimes. They are the sacred mirror in which the world remembers its humanity. And as long as the moon rises in the sky, Cancer will continue to rise with it. Steadily, silently, gloriously, turning emotion into motion and memory into legacy. There is an ancient magic in Cancer that is rarely recognized because it does not scream for recognition. It moves beneath the surface, in the spaces between words, in the quiet acts of loyalty, in the stillness that speaks louder than any declaration. Cancer is the sacred guardian of cycles, not just lunar, but emotional, karmic, and spiritual. They are the pulse of the human experience, the heartbeat of compassion in a world that often forgets to feel. They are not just emotional, they are emotionally intelligent, emotionally resilient, and emotionally sovereign when fully awakened. Theirs is the power of emotional alchemy, the ability to take pain and transmute it into strength, to take vulnerability and shape it into unshakable dignity. One of the most profound truths of the Cancerian path is that they are often initiated into greatness through loss. Life does not hand them ease, it hands them initiation. Whether it's the loss of innocence, safety, trust, or even self, every setback is a ritual, every heartbreak a rite of passage. And unlike others who may crumble or become hardened, Cancer weaves these losses into their story with grace. They do not discard their wounds. They honor them. They wear their scars not as evidence of defeat, but as sacred maps of survival. Each one whispers of a time they rose when rising seemed impossible. And through it all, they learn that their power was never in being untouched by pain, but in never letting pain extinguish their light. There is a divine patience within Cancer that is often overlooked in a world that rewards urgency. They know that some things cannot be rushed, that healing, connection, and trust require time, sacred time. And so, they do not race toward destiny. They call it to them. They are not hurried, they are prepared. They are not passive, they are deliberate. And in that deliberate stillness, they become master manifestors. Because when Cancer sets an intention, it is born not from ego, but from soul. It is not a wish, it is a promise. And the universe always honors those who move with heart. Beneath their external calm is a soul forged in deep emotional warfare. Many Cancers learn early that they must navigate life through the lens of feeling things others cannot or will not understand. They learn to manage atmospheres, to regulate tension in rooms, to sense danger before it arrives. This emotional hyper-awareness, when unconscious, can become exhausting. But when consciously embraced, it becomes a sacred gift. They evolve from emotional reactors into energetic masters. They know how to shift a mood without speaking, how to anchor presence so deeply that chaos cannot take root. They become emotional shamans, walking among the wounded and offering sanctuary through their very being. The connection Cancer has to the moon is more than poetic. It is spiritual law. The moon governs the tides of the earth, just as Cancer governs the tides of the heart. This connection means they are not only in tune with natural cycles, they are a cycle. They understand the necessity of rest, the importance of retreat, the wisdom of stillness. They teach others that recovery is not laziness, that softness is not weakness, that saying no is not rejection. It is reverence. In a culture that demands constant performance, Cancer is the sacred rebellion reminding us to return home, to breathe, to feel, to remember that we are not machines, we are miracles in motion. There is a spiritual protectiveness in Cancer that transcends the idea of maternal or paternal roles. They are guardians of emotional sanctity. They will defend a loved one's soul even when that person cannot defend themselves. They will shield a dream even when it seems impossible. They will protect a truth even when the world insists on a lie. And this protection is not just for others, it is something they must learn to extend to themselves. The awakened Cancer no longer gives their sanctuary to those who refuse to respect it. They no longer dim their fire for the comfort of those afraid of light. They no longer apologize for needing depth, for asking for presence, for craving truth. They embody it. What often surprises others about Cancer, especially in its evolved form, is their sheer endurance. Because their strength is not loud, it's easy to misjudge. But make no mistake, Cancer will outlast the storm. They will sit through every season, feel through every pain, and still stand. They are ruled by the moon but anchored by the cardinal quality, meaning they initiate energy. They are not passive. They start things. They are movers of energy, shifters of timelines, bringers of new beginnings. And once they believe in something, there is no force more loyal, more persistent, more absolute. The Cancer who has embraced every shadow, who has loved and lost and chosen to keep loving anyway, becomes a force of nature that reshapes the lives of everyone they touch. They become a living portal to grace. They no longer need to be understood because they understand themselves. They no longer need to be held because they have become the arms they once longed for. They have become the home they spent their lives seeking. And in that becoming, they liberate others to do the same. Cancer does not conquer through domination, they rise through depth. They do not lead with control, they lead with care. They do not inspire through perfection, they inspire through authenticity. And that authenticity is sacred. It is holy. It is hard-won through lifetimes of learning how to feel without drowning, how to give without depletion, how to love without losing oneself. And when they finally stand tall, when they own every part of who they are, the fierce, the fragile, the fearless, the faithful, they do not just embody their sign. They transcend it. They become an archetype of healing, a symbol of strength, a legend in quiet motion. And the moon, eternal witness to their journey, rises a little brighter in their honor.